and we were learning about the uniqueness of Eretz Yisrael, and uh, we mentioned a few things about how Eretz Yisrael is like the main thing, it's the main rain goes to Eretz Yisrael, and the rest of the world just gets from the remnants, from the leftovers. Hashem Himself waters Eretz Yisrael. Everything else is through a shliach, and yeah, we had a few interesting lines about that. I was just thinking that when we talk about Eretz Yisrael and we say Chutz La'aretz, which is the common way we use for Eretz Yisrael, it actually I never really realized, but what we're really saying is like this is the land. Eretz Yisrael is like Chutz La'aretz means it's whatever's outside of Israel. It's almost like a emphasis that we don't even realize what we're saying, maybe. But what we're saying is that this is the main land. This is the only land, and everything else is called Chutz La'aretz. It's like the external is the extras, the outside, whatever's outside of the land. This is not. It's not even called the land. It's called Chutz La'aretz. It's outside of the land. It's like the extras. It actually changes. When you start thinking about it, it changes your whole perspective on Eretz Yisrael, the uniqueness of Eretz Yisrael, and everything else. How everything else is just a Chutz La'aretz. Okay. Anyway, just thought to share with you an little thought that came to my mind. The
Rabbi,
Gemara that we are up to. Oh, we did this other Gemara also about Choshchas and Choshras.
Rabbi.
David has a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, in addition to that, the word oretz means like it's roadside, will run to do the will of Hashem.
Right.
So it's even more of an emphasis of not only is it oretz the land, but wanting to do the will of Hashem, which is connected with Israel and the Jews, and outside of that is not necessarily.
Right. It's correct. Thank you for adding that point. That's good. Eretz does come from the word ratzain. Eretz sheratz salasus ritzain kaina, the land that wants to do the will of its creator. So that is very connected to that. Correct. Thank you. We mentioned that the Shira of David's song, is mentioned twice in the Tanakh. Once is in Tehillim, and the other one is in Shmuel Aleph. And I'm sorry, in Shmuel Beis, the Shira, the Song of David, chapter 22. It mentions it there, but it also mentions in Tehillim, Psalm number 18. So the thing is that there's like a number of words that are spelled a little differently or different word. So one of them has to do with the rain. So our Gemara brings that, and it brings these two. One place it says choshras mayim, and the other one says choshras mayim. And the Gemara tries to explain it, that what it really is meant, what the intent is for us to actually use both of those words and put them together into one word, and to make the word called hachsharas or chachsharas, which we're going to translate as hachsharas. So we're adding the shin, the reish, chashchas, the reish, and the chaf. So we're basically making it into a word called hachsharas, which basically means that we're preparing the rain, that it shouldn't be, it shouldn't have salt in it. So that's following that view of the view of Rabbi Eliezer, that the rainwater originates from the ocean, but it's yet not salty. And the reason is because the clouds are preparing it and causing it not to be, not to have the salt content in it. And so based on those two words, and based on that drusha, that expounding of those words, that's how Rabbi Eliezer comes up with his opinion. And as the Gemara says, Minale, how does he know this? That the water is cleansed from the salt. How does he know that? The rainwater comes from the ocean and then it's cleansed from the salt. So it's based on these two verses that the word is switched from the way it is in Shmuel to the way it is in Tehillim. And so he says it must mean it's hachsharas, which basically means that the clouds, hachsharas mayim, they prepare the water of a shchakim from the clouds of the heavens. The clouds of the heavens prepare the rain, the water from the ocean to make it rain. In other words, from the salt to make it unsalty. And then, yes.
But you said achsharat, but it says here chasharat.
Right. You caught me. You got me. So the thing is that ches and hey are interchangeable.
I see.
And because it's interchangeable, it means hachsharas.
Because one is open to the bottom and one is open to the side. Okay.
Well, I don't think that's why. I think hey and ches, there is a place where it says achpa mehagorin, that certain letters come from different parts of the mouth.
Yeah.
So aleph, ches, hey, and achpa. Aleph, ches, hey, and ayin maybe.
Reish maybe.
I think ayin.
I think ayin maybe. Acha they come from the garoin. They come from the throat. So
ayin doesn't come from the garon, but reish could.
Well, I don't have my phone here. I would check.
Ayin, I pronounce ayin without using my throat.
Well, it's supposed to be pronounced with the throat.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, the Sephardic people know how to do it.
Sephardic, yeah. The Sephardic.
Yeah, see, so that's it. So it is. So it's acham me'agarin. So those four letters are interchangeable, and so so that's the source.
Chasharat.
Chachsharas really is hachsharas.
Okay.
So, and then the Gemara said that Rabbi Yeshua he obviously learns it differently. How does he reconcile these or learn these two verses that one has one word, choshras, and the other one is choshras? So the Gemara says he follows, he learns like Rav Dimi said that they say in the West, which means in Eretz Yisrael, that Nohar Anani is Zeirin Maichi. Zeirin Maichi. Did we do that inside? I think we did that. Where did we get up to? I'm just figuring out where we should start. Let's just start with that. Let's start there. Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Yoshua is about 12 lines from the top of the page, page 10a. And if you have the art scroll, let me tell you. 10a. The Rabbi Yehoshua. It is on 10a1. It is about 10 lines before the end of the page on 10a1 in the art scroll. Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Yoshua, who holds that the water of the rain does not come from the ocean, but it comes from the heavenly waters called the Mayim Ha'elyonim, the heavenly waters. How does he learn these psukim that talk about the clouds? One of them says choshchas mayim of eshchakim, which would mean the darkness of the water are the thick clouds of the heavens. And the other one says choshras mayim of eshchakim, a sieve of water, the thick clouds of the heaven. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yoshua bahani kroi my darish bahu. How does he expound on these verses? Savar, the Gemara says, he holds Savar la kiha, like this statement, Dechi asa Rav Dimi Amar, that when Rav Dimi came, he said the following statement. Now Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and he would teach things that he learned in Eretz Yisrael. So when he came, he said, Amri b'ma'arava, they say in the West, which means Eretz Yisrael, Nahar Anani, the clouds are light. Zeiren mahi, the water is minimal. Chashuch anoni, if the clouds are dark, sagyon mahi, that is sufficient, or abundance, I should say, abundance of waters. So that is the meaning of this verse. Like, it's telling us that you can tell from the clouds if it's going to be a large amount of water or a small amount of water. And that's how he learns chashchas mayim avei shchakim. That verse that it says in Psalms, chashchas, it means that the thick clouds that are dark, that will have substantial waters. Chashchas, if it's very dark clouds, mayim, waters of a shchakim, will be pouring down from the clouds of heaven, and implying that if they're not dark clouds, it won't be substantial abundance of rain. Now, how does he learn the other pasuk, chashras mayim avei shchakim, that it's a sieve of water is the clouds of heaven? So we learned already in Rebbe Yehoshua's view that he says that there needs to be clouds to receive the water from the heavenly waters, because otherwise the water will come down too fast and be destructive. And the clouds receive those waters like a noid, like a flask of it's called a water skin, like a leather container of water. That's how the clouds receive the water from the heavenly storages in heaven, the mayim al yoinim, and then it drips that rain from it like a sieve. So that's the meaning of chashras mayim, that it drips it similar to a sieve. That would be the meaning of that pasuk. So he doesn't have to expound that pasuk over here. That pasuk he expounded upon over there earlier on the earlier page when we learned his initial opinion about the where the rain comes from. But here he expounds on the chashchas mayim, on this pasuk that he didn't expound on earlier. And this pasuk means that dark clouds mean that it's going to rain. So finish learning this Gemara, you can now be a meteorologist. And now you know a little about the rains. Okay, now the Gemara continues and says that Kaman Ozla Hadatanya. Who does the following?
We pass to 10A2.
10A2 in the art scroll. Thank you. You can be the official announcer, Ben, of the art scroll page numbers. Kaman Ozla Hadatanya. So who does the following statement go like? It's a brisa. Who does the following brisa follow? Whose opinion? Again, we have these two opinions, Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Eliezer, where the rain comes from. And the Gemara has different brisas. It says which one is it following. So here it has the following brisa: Mayim ha'el yoinim b'maymar heim teluyim. The heavenly waters are hanging on a mimer, a word. Mimer means a word of Hashem. Asora maimaros, the 10 utterances, an utterance. So the heavenly waters are hanging, are suspended and hanging on an utterance, and a mimer. Uperesehem may geshamim, and their fruit is the rainwater. And what that means is the rainwater comes from these mayim ha'yonim. Now, so they're hanging on a mimer, and their fruit is the rainwater. Shenemar, as it says, "Mipri ma'asecha tispa ha'aretz." From the fruit of your actions, the land will be satiated. So we see from there that from the fruit of your actions, meaning your waters, tispa ha'aretz, your actions, meaning that you created in heaven some type of a storage of these heavenly waters. So from the fruit of your actions of this, that's what causes the earth to be satiated. So who does that? Who does this? Who does this follow? This idea? So anyone here want to tell us who does this? Mayim hal yoinim are the heavenly waters, are their fruits are the rain. Who does this sound like it's following? Rabbi Eliezer or Rabbi Yoshua? Anyone?
Rabbi Yoshua.
So it follows Rabbi Yoshua. Thank you. What did Rabbi Yoshua say? Anyone?
He said
We
that he said that the water drinks from the upper waters.
Water drinks from the upper waters. The rainwater comes from the upper waters. So that's Rabbi Yeshua, and that seems to be what this brisa is saying. So the Gemara says, come on, who does this go like Rabbi Yeshua? This follows Rabbi Yeshua, that everything comes from, the rain comes from the upper waters. Rabbi Eliezer, what would Rabbi Eliezer, who says that the rain comes from the ocean, how is he going to translate mi pri maisecha tispa haaretz? From the fruit of your actions, from the fruit of your actions, the land will be satiated. What is that referring to? So the Gemara says that this is referring to that is referring to the creation of the world. The reference to the or Maaseh Yadav, excuse me, the Maaseh Yadav of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that it's the it is referring to the creation of the world when Hashem caused the water to fall and caused everything to grow. That was Mipri Maisecha Tispa Haaretz. So that's the that's referring to that specific part of the creation of the world.
Because Rabbi Yeshua says that the waters of the ocean are salty and the rainwater is sweet. So Rabbi Eliezer says that the water is sweetened in the clouds before they fall to the earth.
So so what you're saying is that the mipri maisecha, from your actions that you sweeten the water, from your actions that you sweeten the water. That's the way the article the Koran explains it. From your actions.
I'm not looking
That's
at
the way they're translating it.
Yeah.
So the Gemara continues. Just 1 second, actually. So I see over here Rashi says that it's from the fruit of your actions that the earth is satiated, and that refers to the fact that fruits don't take away from the origin of the tree. They are just, nothing is lost from the original. A fruit grows and the tree stays the same. So the same thing is that the upper waters, they are hanging by Hashem's word, and it says that their peirosehem, their fruit, is the rainwater, but it doesn't minimize anything. In other words, they're constantly there and they never get minimized. They stay there always full, and they're never diminished. And so the idea is that um, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yoshua, what it seems like what Rashi's saying is that according to the opinion of Rabbi Yoshua, the cycle doesn't really replenish, but it doesn't need to, because the way Hashem made this miracle is that the heavenly waters, they're giving off, but they don't lose. It's like a miraculous type of thing, the rain. And the rain is called fruit, that it rains and it doesn't diminish the original, the principle. And so he says, he sees from this pasuk, "Mipri ma'asecha tispa haaretz," from the fruits of your action, that's how the earth is satiated. That is the concept of that follows Rabbi Yeshua, that it's talking about the heavenly waters. Now, if it would refer to the clouds, so it wouldn't be called pri ma'asecha, because the water would be diminished from the clouds. So it wouldn't be called the fruits. It would be called the principle. So the Gemara says this follows Rabbi Yeshua, but what does Rabbi Eliezer do with that pasuk? So the Gemara says that for Rabbi Eliezer, he was saying, "Mipri ma'asecha tispa haaretz," that from the fruit of your deeds you created you satiated the earth. The way Rabbi Eliezer would refer to that is that during creations, that the water that Hashem allowed it to rain. In other words, it says "Ve'ed yalam min haaretz v'hishkas kol pnei ha'adama," that the rain that Hashem rained during the first days, during the days of creation, that was what it's referring to here, but it's not referring to the source of rain always.
Rabbi?
In other words, the rain that had happened during creation is actually a different rain than when it normally rains. It's a different source of rain. Sounds surprising, but that's the way they translate this statement of the Gemara. Let me just make sure in the Maharsha he says the same thing over here. From the fruits of the actions of your hands, the earth is satiated from the creation of the water in order to satiate the earth. So that's what it means. From the creation, from the work of your hands, which means the creation of the earth, of the water, from the creation of the water. That's what it's referring to. Mipri shel ma'aseh yodecha, from the fruits of your hands, which refers to the water. That is, in other words, it's creation of the water, not the rain. It's the creation of water. That's how the earth is satiated. It's from your creation. So it's referring to the creation of the water, not the creation of the world, creation of the water. And that would mean mipri ma'asecha, from the fruits of your hand, which is you created the water, that is satiating the earth. Okay, so now that makes more sense. Yes, Ben.
I find it interesting because we always learn that fire is different than water. The fire flame, you can light up as many fires as you want. It doesn't diminish the fire that you started with. And with the rain, you're always opposite to fire. It puts out fire. It's not going up, it's going down. The water is coming down always.
Correct.
So, but here we are saying the water is not diminishing either. So that's like fire.
Yeah, according to Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Yoshua's opinion seems a little surprising.
So I find it interesting that
yes.
It's exactly opposite, but here it's the same.
It's a good point you're making. Very interesting. Which this Gemara is actually a very interesting thing that it's saying that he's saying it's that the waters of heaven, but it makes sense
about it.
it makes sense because according to Rabbi Yoshua, the water doesn't really go back up there. So where is how come there's still water up there in the water, heavenly
It doesn't diminish the water.
It does diminish. In other words, his view has to really follow that logic. Seems like, you know what I mean? Because he's not following this cycle of water going back up, it seems.
Right,
Although it is surprising because the pasuk in Bereshit says the Ein Yala min haaretz v'hishke es hagan, like a vapor goes up from the earth and it waters. So I wonder how he translates that verse. As that makes it sound like rain comes from the vapor that goes up. And now, according to Rabbi Yeshua, he's saying, no, it comes from the heavenly waters. I wonder how he would translate that verse.
So maybe the heavenly waters are different than clouds. The clouds are the circulating one, but the heavenly waters.
Oh, Ve'ed Yalam and Aretz creates the clouds. Maybe Ve'ed Yalam and Aretz creates the clouds.
Yeah.
And the clouds absorb, but the clouds just that just creates the clouds, which is the receptacle and the vessel that is able to hold the water.
If they get diminished, then they get water from above.
Now that's you're bringing your own interpretation over there. That's your. I mean, I did see a source for what you said, by the way. I looked it up and I found one opinion says something similar to what you said, that there is such a concept that maybe it's both. I don't know where I saw it, that they're he brings over here, he says the heavenly waters are from he says, is the water through a shliach? So he says, in other words, does Hashem himself pour the water, or does it come through an emissary? So he brings down over here one sefer that says that if you look into the verses, the heavenly waters are from Hashem himself. But when they come from the ocean and the clouds are purifying the waters, so then that is that's the rain, and that comes through a shliach. So
except in Eretz Yisrael.
So it sounds like what he's saying is that the rain comes from both, and so when it comes through the Mayim El Yoinim, that's when it's referring to Hashem himself. And this is basically it's answering the question of, isn't Hashem the one who's supposed to be the key of the rain, is all Hashem's? So he says it depends which rain. There's the rain that's from the heavenly waters. That's Hashem himself is in charge of that key. But the rain that comes from the ocean, that's something that that rain it can even be through a shliach. So that's how he answers this contradiction. But I was thinking of you when he says that, because what he's basically saying is that rain comes from both sources. No one else seems to follow that because it doesn't seem to fit with our Gemara. There's either Rabbi Yoshua or Rabbi Eliezer. But this view seems to want to say that maybe there are different rains. Some rains are heavenly rain from the heavenly waters, and some rains are not. And I'm not exactly sure what he means, because is he saying that Rabbi Yehoshua follows Rabbi Eliezer's view as well? He just says the majority is from the upper waters. Is that the argument? Like, what is the majority? Like, how is he learning our Gemara, really?
But I thought we said that the upper waters fill the clouds.
The upper waters fill the clouds is Rabbi Yeshua's view. But he's mixing the two views together. He's saying there's the upper waters and there's the lower waters, and some are from a shliach and some are Hashem himself. And he wants to, so it sounds like he's like fitting both opinions into one, which is exactly what you were trying to promote. And I found you a source, so you'll owe me one.
Thank you.
Yes, David.
Sorry, yeah, earlier, earlier when he quotes the pasuk from Shmuel, where he says, "The gathering of the waters, the thick clouds of the skies, and between each and every drop, there's only a hair's breadth." To teach you that the day of the rains is as great as the day on which the heaven and earth were created. He says that means that rainfall is as miraculous as creation.
Okay.
No, that's it. I don't know if that's what we said before.
I'm sorry, I drifted off. Repeat. I'm sorry. Repeat what you said.
So he says that it's to teach. The Gemara says it's to teach you that the day of the rains of is as great as the day on which the heaven and earth were created. That's what the Gemara says. So he means to say that the rainfall itself is as miraculous as creation.
That's what that Gemara means.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's the simple understanding, no? That it's just
so.
like. Okay. The next Gemara. The next Gemara is as follows. The next Gemara is as follows. Amar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, Kol ha'olam, kulai, the entire world, mitamtzis Gan Eden hushoisa, drinks from the leftovers of Gan Eden. That's where the entire world gets their water from.
Are you still on 9b or are you on 10a?
No, I'm on 10a.
Okay.
Yeah. So the entire world gets its water from the leftovers, the extras of Gan Eden. Shenemar, as it says, V'nohar yoytze me'Eden. A river leaves from Eden and it waters the garden. And what that implies is that the Garden of Eden, the Nahar is yoytze me'Eden. It goes from Eden, it waters the Garden of Eden, and from there, the world will get water. So it means that the Garden of Eden gets first, and everything else gets after Gan Eden gets its water. The entire world afterwards will get their water. Tana, we learned mitamtis base core shoisa tarkov, that from the leftovers of a base core, meaning from the leftovers of how much it would be to water a base core, and a base core is a core is 30 saw, and the meaning of a base core is a certain measure of land which would produce a core, a 30 saw, which is, all these are measuring terms from the Gemara. It'll create 30 saw of barley. So a plot of land that size is called a base core. The amount of water that you need to water a base core is, that's what the Gemara is talking about. That mitamtis base core, the leftovers of the water that was used to water a base core. That's what an area of 1/60th, which is 3 calves, would get. In other words, the entire world is 1/60th the size of the Garden of Eden, and the leftover rain in the clouds after the Garden of Eden is watered is enough for the entire world. So it uses this term, mitamtis base core shoisa tarkov, that from the leftovers of the vessel that's used to water a base core, the earth, which is only 1/60th, which is the amount of a tarkov, amount of 3 kav, 3 tarkov is 2, tar means tray, and kav means a kav. So 2 calves plus 1 calf is 3 calves. Then 3 calves, which a saw is 6 calves. So if 3 calves is a half a saw, so 30 calves would be how many Tarkovs? 30 Sa'ah would be how many Tarkovs? It would be 60 Tarkovs. So the Gemara is basically saying that the entire earth is like a Tarkov, is a vessel that holds 3 calves, which is 1/60th of the vessel that would water a base court. And the entire world is basically just getting a small leftover portion, 1/60th of what the world uses to water water the Gan Eden. Okay, now the next Gemara says that it talks about the land of Egypt and other lands, comparing lands to Eden and to Gan Eden. Tana Rabbanan, Eretz Mitzrayim, the land of Egypt. Rabbis learned in a brisa. Eretz Mitzrayim, Havya Dalad Meis Parsa, Al Dalad Meis Parsa. Land of Egypt is 400 parsas by 400 parsa. Parsa is a measurement of land. It's 4 mil, and a mil takes 18 minutes approximately to walk. So a mil is 2,000 amos, which is maybe about 4,000 feet. And it's an argument in the Gemara if the argument in the commentary is a mil is either 18 minutes or 24 minutes. And a parsa would be 4 of those periods of time. So a parsa is either 72 minutes or 24 times 4 would be 96. So it's either 72 minutes or 96 minutes. These are the 2 opinions. People are familiar with the 18-minute rule of mil because that's how long the matzah has to be made within 18 minutes. If you leave dough for 18 minutes at a certain regular temperature, the dough will start rising. So all the matzah has to be made within the amount of time it takes to walk a mil, right? Officially, the rule was that the matzah, I'm just sharing with you this because that's how people are familiar with the number of 18 minutes, that's in the matzah bakeries. They make a big thing out of 18 minutes because the matzah, they want to finish within 18 minutes. Although there is a second opinion that says that it doesn't go by 18 minutes, it goes by 24 minutes because that opinion holds that a mil is really a 24-minute time. So again, there's an argument to exactly how long this mil is. And then a parsa is the amount of time it would take to 4 mils, to walk 4 mils, which would be 72 minutes, which is, if you want to calculate it measure it in land, it would be 2,000 amos times 4, which would mean 8,000 amos, 8,000 cubits. But again, a cubit is a big debate, how big a cubit is. Cubit could either be 18 minutes or 18 inches or 24 inches or 22 or 19 and a half inches. There are different opinions among the rabbis how big a cubit is. So again, this is the size, this is what a parsa is. So it says that the land of Egypt, Havya Dalad Meos Parsa, Al Dalad Meos Parsa. Land of Egypt is 400 of these parsas, of these 8,000 cubits. It's 400 of them by 400. And they calculate it on the bottom. I see over here calculates it to be somewhere around 2.5 miles. Yes, David.
I was just going to ask if the 18 minutes is connected to the 18 minutes of lich benching before Shkia.
So the lich benching 18 minutes, if I understand correctly, is just a man-made addition to, to people should be ready. I don't know that it's specifically 18. In fact, in Eretz Yisrael, I'm told that they do 40 minutes. They have the candle lighting time is 40 minutes before sunset. So I don't know if the 18 minutes has a official source. So obviously, a person is obligated to add from the holy day of Shabbos. You're supposed to add on to it, but I don't know that the 18 minutes is specific. That's the amount of from practice. People do not add 18 minutes. They start lighting anytime around that time, but they aren't so careful to add a full-fledged 18 minutes. Yes, Mordechai.
Yeah, the thing about Mitzrayim, about the board, how big it's 400 by 400. It reminds me of something in the Mayam Louise, that the Mitzrayim had a border dispute with a neighboring country, and then when there was the plague of Arbe, that was resolved because the Arbe were like all along from the border of Mitzrayim. And
I couldn't hear you. The Arba, what happened about the border?
yeah, the Arbe, they were from the border of Mitzrayim and inward, so they were able to solve the border dispute as to where the other country ended and Egypt started.
Oh, interesting. Mordechai is just sharing with us that there was a dispute of land between Egypt and another neighboring country, and the when the plague of locusts came, they could tell where it was, because that's where the locust started. What about all the other plagues? None of the other plagues were just applicable in Egypt. I would think maybe the other plagues could have been applicable.
Well, I guess maybe with the Arbe, maybe with the Arbe was more recognizable.
Interesting. Very nice. Shkoyach for that midrashic story. Okay, so the Gemara here says that Egypt is 400 parsa by 400 parsa in Vahu, and that is Echad Mishishim Bekush, 1/60th the size of Kush. Kush, I think, is generally translated as Ethiopia. So Egypt is only 1/60th of the size of Kush. Now, I don't know today's Ethiopia how big it is, but anyway, Egypt is 400 parsa by 400 parsa. So you can imagine how big Kush is. The Kush Echad Mishishim Ba'olam. Kush is 1/60th the size of the entire world. The Olam in the world is Echad Mishishim Begam. The world is 1/60th of the Garden of Eden. And Vegan Echad Mishishim LeEden. The Garden of Eden is 1/60th of the size of the entire Eden or Eden. And Eden Echad Mishishim LeGehenim. And Eden is only 1/60th the size of hell. I guess there's more people in hell than in heaven, I guess. So it needed to be bigger. I don't know. V'nimtza comes out, Kol ha'olam kulei, the entire world, Kikisui Kedera Legehenim, is just like a pot cover, meaning like it's total, it's so tiny. Legehenim towards Gehenim. Yeah, if you make all that calculation, that the world is 1/60th of the garden, and the garden is 1/60th of Eden, and the Eden is 1/60th of Gehenim. So that means the world is 1/60th of 1/60th of 1/60th of the Gehenim of hell. So that makes the world very tiny compared to hell. And some say Gehenim ein lashir. Gehenim has no measure. Eden ein lashir, and some say that Eden has no measure. Again, these are mystical Gemaras that can't say we understand fully what it means. What does that mean? It says either Gehenim doesn't have any measure or Gan Eden doesn't have a measure. But basically, the Gemara is telling us that the rewards, I guess, of Gehenim are, tremendous magnitude. But also keep in mind that the Gehenim is also of tremendous magnitude. And in general, I've mentioned a number of times that everything in heaven is much greater than it is here on earth. And so that implies that a person's reward in Gan Eden is very worthwhile, because it's going to be much greater in Gan Eden than here. Here on earth, you want a reward. So you get your reward $1,000, or even $100,000. In Gan Eden, it's like billions, trillions. It's like everything is much more value. It's of much more value there. But the thing is that Gehenim is even greater. So that means you really want your punishment on earth than in Gehenim. Yes, Ben.
I thought that we learned in Megillat Esther that Ahasuerus was ruling from Hodu up Kush. So Kush may be Africa.
Could be.
Because if it's 16 times bigger than Egypt,
60 times bigger. Would that make sense that it would be the whole Africa?
well, at
you
least
know.
North Africa.
Right. Okay, maybe, yeah. All right, someone wants to do their homework and calculate the measurements. We could, sure, I'm sure Google could help you.
Egypt
Rabbi.
alone is 160,000 parsa. That's a lot, too.
Right, it's huge, yeah. Yes, David.
I just looked on Google, and it says that Egypt is around the same size as Ethiopia. So that's obviously, current
Right, it's current, yeah.
current measurements.
Right. Could be Kush had a lot more countries under its
Yeah.
name than it has today. Things change even while
It
we're
was
talking.
divided up.
Even while we're talking now, who knows what Russia has taken from Ukraine? You know what I mean? Like things are, constantly changing. Okay. So the next Gemara says, Amar Reb Oishia. Reb Oishia says, Maidach Siv, what does it mean? Shoichant al mayim rabin. You dwell by abundant waters or great waters. Rabat oitzaros. Abundant storehouses. Mi garam lebavel sheyiyu oitzreiseham aleispar. Who causes that Bavel should have storehouses full of grain? The reason is because it dwells by great waters, and it is lower than it's a low land. It's lower than the other areas near it. That's why it's called Bavel. Bavel. It says Shaninaru Sham Kol Nasei Mabul. All the dead ones of the flood ended up going to Bavel because it was lower than all the other lands. So Bavel is lower, so the water, as David was telling us, or Ben was saying, that the water flows down to the fire goes up, but water goes down. So if Bavel is lower than all the surrounding areas, the water will ultimately make its way to Bavel, and all the fields ultimately have a lot of water, and they have great grain. So what caused that Bavel, the Eitzreis, the storage houses are full of full of grain? It's because it dwells by abundance of water. In Amar Rav says Asira Bavel is rich. Asira is a tough, and a shin is like the Aramaic is like Ashira. It means it's Ashir. It's rich. The Chatzta Beloi Mitra, that the harvesting is without rain, and it doesn't need rain for or direct rain for its harvest. Its harvest is without rain, and it succeeds, I guess, because of all the waters that are around it. Amar Abaye Naktinan, we have a rule, we have a law or a tradition, teaching. Tuvani v'lo yuvshani. It's Tuvani it's muddy and swampy, v'lo yuvshani, and it's not dried out. And so what this means is that it's good to have land that has water, because it benefits the people around, that the land will cause great growth, and there'll be abundance of food, so on. So in other words, Babylon is rich, that it doesn't really need rain, because, at least my understanding is, because it has all the water that flows to it from the other lands that are it lives on Mayim Rabim, great abundance of water, that that the abundance of water comes in wets the lands of Babylon without rain, without it needing rain.
Rabbi,
Yes.
with the measurements, one of the measurements that popped up when I was looking on Google, and this is again a modern measurements. It says that Ethiopia, compared to Israel, Ethiopia is 50 times the size of Israel.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. It doesn't really fit with I mean, our Gemara doesn't really compare it to Eretz Yisrael. Compares it to the world and to the God and in Egypt. So yeah. All right. Anyway, so that's the let me just yeah. So that's seemingly the understanding of this Gemara. The next Gemara is we start with the Mishnah. The next Mishnah goes back to what we were talking about originally, in the beginning of the tractate, which we were talking about praying. Our prayer involves, number one, mentioning rain, and also involves asking for rain. So here the Mishnah talks about the actual asking for rain, and if you remember, we did touch upon this a little before as well. Is the asking and the mentioning for rain at the same time? Is it a different time? Why is it a different time? And so on and so forth. And we also had a Gemara that talked about when is the time of the Reviah? When is the time when the rains are the early rain supposed to come? There's the Yaira rains, which are the earlier rains. When is the appropriate time to come? And if they don't come by a certain time, that's when people start fasting. So we had a three-way argument, if you remember, of when is the appropriate time for the rains to start coming. One of the opinions was the 3rd of Cheshvan, one was the 17th of Cheshvan, right? One was the 23rd of Cheshvan, and then each of those opinions had a time for the early rain, for early Yaira rain, the middle Yaira rain, and the later Yaira rain. So we had the different time, we had different opinions. Anyway, so our Mishnah is Rebbe Gamliel. We'll soon see, and he has his opinion over here, and we have a ton of comment in our Mishnah. So let us learn this Mishnah. We are on page 10a, Yud Amud Aleph, the Mishnah, the beginning of the line. And if you're in the art scroll, it is
10a2.
Thank you. Okay, Begimel Mar Cheshvan, on the 3rd day of Cheshvan, Shaylin Esek Hashem, we ask for rain. Reb Gamliel Amar B'Shiva Bay. Reb Gamliel argues, says on the 7th day. Why on the 7th day of Cheshvan? Tesvav Yoim Achar Hachag, 15 days after Sukkot, Kedei, in order, Sheyagia Achron Shebi Yisrael Lenahar Pros, that the latest returning resident will reach Nahar Pros, the Euphrates River, before the rain. He should reach the last of Israel will reach Nahar Pros, the Euphrates River, before the rain falls. So therefore, we don't ask for it until he reaches that 15 days after the holiday, which ends up being the 7th of Cheshvan. So that's the opinion of Rabban Gamliel. Now, the simple understanding of the Mishnah would be that according to the Tanakama, the first opinion, the 3rd of Cheshvan is the time to ask for rain. Why would that be the right time to ask for rain? So the simple understanding is because he holds that the 3rd day of Cheshvan is when we should expect, that's the apropos time for the first of the Yaira rains to come. So we would like it to come that day because that would be the best possible time. Now, Rabban Gamliel would probably argue with that because Rabban Gamliel would say, no, the most apropos rain, which we want, is on the 7th of Cheshvan. That would be the best rain. And be the best for the crops, and therefore it's the 7th day of Cheshvan would be the best time for it to rain. Now that doesn't really fit so well with what we just read in the Mishnah. Any questions on what I just said? You shouldn't be bothered with the question. I just mentioned that Rabbi Gamliel holds the 7th day, and why would you start on the 7th of Cheshvan asking for rain? So seemingly it's because Rabbi Gamliel says, when is the best time for rain for the agriculture? The best time for the fields is on the 7th day. The first opinion held the 3rd day. Gamliel holds the 7th day. That's the best time. So therefore, start asking for rain on the 7th day. Now that doesn't fit so well here, because the Mishnah gives another reason. The Mishnah gives a different reason. You know why we do it on the 7th day? Because the 7th day is 15 days after Sukkot. We want to wait until after Sukkot, people get home from their travels, from Israel being Oila Regel. They went to Yerushalayim to bring Korbanos and to see Hashem and to be seen by Hashem. They return from this pilgrimage and they go back. And so we don't ask for rain until they get back. Sounds like maybe we should have asked for rain earlier. According to this, it sounds like Rabbi Gamliel holds that maybe the 3rd day would be the 3rd of Cheshvan maybe be the apropos day for rain. But because people are traveling, Rabbi Gamliel pushes it off and says, no, don't ask for rain on the 3rd because people are traveling. Let's wait, even though it would be nice for the earth to have rain, but we are going to wait and push it off until the 7th. You get what I'm saying? The reason that he gives in the Mishnah seems to knock off the simple understanding and say he probably holds like the 3rd day of Cheshvan maybe would be best for the agriculture. But because Rabbi Gamliel wants that people shouldn't be pained over the rain, therefore he pushes it off and says maybe the 7th will start asking, even though the 3rd would be better for the fields, but it's not good for the travelers. 7th will start asking for rain. So that is the way some want to learn this. Again, there are different ways there are different opinions in the commentaries how to learn it, but this is one of the ways that you can understand it, and it fits with the Mishnah, and we have an understanding how Rabbi Gamliel holds regarding when is the most apropos time for rain. The Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Elazar, halacha karabon Gamliel. Rabbi Elazar says the halacha follows Rabbi Gamliel, and that would mean that the 7th of Cheshvan would be the apropos time for asking for rain, and as we'll see, that applies in Eretz Yisrael. Now, the question that we should all ask is, why is Rabbi Gamliel saying the 7th? Because people are traveling from the Beis Hamikdash. What about in today's day and age? What about after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash? The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. So you could ask, maybe the halacha should not follow Rabbi Gamliel's view, because Rabbi Gamliel was specifically explaining that the reason is because of people traveling. So if people are not traveling, then maybe we shouldn't be doing it on the 7th day of Cheshvan. Maybe we should be doing it earlier, the 3rd day, because now we don't have to worry about people traveling. So there is one view, interestingly enough, in the Rishonim, that the commentaries that says that even after the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, people still travel to Yerushalayim to be, so to speak, Oila Regel. They still go they still go to the Makom Hamikdash, to the place of the Beis Hamikdash. They still travel, even though there's no Beis Hamikdash there. People still travel there. So it sounds like a little interesting minhag that is sourced in the Rishonim, sourced in the Ran. The Ran brings this, that there is a concept of going to Yerushalayim even if there's no Beis Hamikdash. Anyway, we'll have to talk about this more tomorrow. Mitzvah Hashem. Zay Gesund. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.